Hello all my beautiful sisters from those other misters. Welcome back to my channel. It is time for an update on my project palettes video. I don't think I've done one of these since January, maybe December. I don't know. I can't remember. It's been a while. I just know it's been a while, and I will admit I've kind of struggled a little bit because I feel like I would sort of start working on, this little group of palettes that I have right here. And then, something would come up, or like for one, I had a skin reaction to vitamin C, and then I was testing out some other palettes for review videos. So it kind of felt all a bit disjointed, and I was like testing the palettes and then not taking photos because I was always doing it on days when I was in a rush, and it was just sort of like, this is not working. This is just, come on, it's not coming together like it should. And then I decided, you know what, I'm just going to sit down and talk to you guys. It doesn't matter if I don't have photos. I have been playing with my little Nabla Cutie palettes recently around other things, and I'm going to talk to you about them and give you some thoughts, and then tell you what I've started working on today. So let's start with this one. This is Wild Berry. This is a beautiful palette. What I found interesting about all of these palettes is some of them have these like latexy formulas in them, which I wouldn't say are creams, but they're kind of like powder to cream. I don't know. It's a very interesting formula. I feel like when it comes to applying with them with a brush, because they sort of pick up like a powder. So this one here, Incense, is one of them. Because they pick up like a powder, but then when you apply them, they sort of blend out and become sort of creamy feeling ish. They're kind of a little bit difficult to blend, which is a shame. However, that color is just beautiful. It's almost like a rosy nude, and I really enjoyed it. I do really also enjoy their like sort of sparkly formula. I just think it's beautiful. This one here, the sort of purpley translucenty blue magic, it's Alchemy 2.0, and I really enjoyed just dusting that over the eyelid for like lazy makeup days, just when I wanted some sparkle, because the skin really like is allowed to sort of show through that shade, and I feel like the colors complement my skin tone. It's got a very subtle silvery blue shift. I just think it makes the eye look very interesting when you use it as a one and done shade over the eyelid. The mattes in this shade, or the like traditional mattes, because this one here, this latex sort of formula, that is also a matte finish, although it does have a bit of sheen to it, but it's a matte finish, but it, whatever. These guys here are your more traditional powder matte formula. I would say that this one here feels gritty and grainy, but goodness gracious, like it's a very beautiful, interesting shade. And I didn't have any problem with how they like go onto the eye and blend and build and all that jazz. So I think this is a really beautiful color story. I will say though, and look, I like this formula, but I don't love it, and I do think it makes using the palette more difficult, because this is sort of your only like lighter shade. Like if you want to use it sort of as a transition shade, or like blend it up to your brow or whatever, to sort of like make your look appear that it is like really well blended, and take the work out of the actual blending, something like this makes that job more difficult, because when you apply it, it does need to be built, because it's got that kind of creamy formula. You got to like really work it into the skin. And if you then try and take one of these actually dry mattes, especially this one is, it has that sort of stiff dry feeling to it. If you try to blend that over this, like, I mean, may God be with you, because you're gonna need it. And while I do like those latex formulas, and I think they're interesting, and I think they you know, visually when you look at the palette, it feels a bit more interesting because it has that formula in there. I actually don't think it is the easiest to work with and super cohesive with the other shades. However, if you take this shade and put it all over the eyelid and just blend out the edges and then tap something like this guy or this guy over the top, beautiful. There you go. That's my thoughts on that one. All right, let's dig into the Coral palette. This is, oh, it's got a red in it. It's beautiful. So this, I feel like this palette is a bit limited, okay? You've got two mattes in there. You've got Feelings down here, which, like, goodness gracious me, look just, ugh. This almost has, like fluorescent-y tones to it, so it's so beautiful and vibrant. Then you've got Anyway, which is like a chocolatey brown shade, and I do feel, depending on how you like to create your eye licks, god, I don't know where that came from, that's just weird. Depending on how you like to create them, you might use mattes in certain areas and not in others. You might only use shimmers in specific areas, or you might be a bit of a cowboy and be like, fuck it, I'm putting whatever I want wherever I want, which is great. You do that. Keep doing that. We love people who step outside of the box. Myself, though, I'm a boring basic bitch, and I like a matte in my crease in my outer corner, and then I like a shimmer over my eyelid. And I do feel like when you've only got two mattes, one, we'll call it like a, you know, mid-tone bright, and then a quite dark matte shade, very limited to the types of looks that you can create. And the only place where the interesting stuff comes in is with the shimmery shades. Now, I do think the shimmery shades in this palette are really beautiful though. So, you know, we gotta give them props on that. And being a 6-pan palette, it is, you know, it's limited. We can only go so far. The red is divine and beautiful. It actually has orange undertone, so it's not going to pull pink, which is wonderful. We love that. Then we've got two sort of like nudie, goldy, kind of more, you know, those sort of shades. And then we've got a pink that has a gold reflect. I absolutely 110% think that all of these colors actually work well together. If you pair any of these shades with this bright shade, you get a very fun, vibrant, rich, sunsetty eye look. And if you pair any of these shades with this guy, you get something that's a bit more pulled back because of the brown shade, obviously, but then interesting because all of your pops of shimmer are interesting in this palette, and they all offer something different. They're all very unique from one another. I think this palette has been really nice. I quite enjoyed it, but I did find it very limiting in the fact that if I wanted to wear a soft, subtle eye, which is what I go for mostly, I didn't really have that option. I felt like all I could really do was take like this one here, which is this shade, and dust that over the eyelid, put on a little bit of wing liner and mascara, and go off with my badass self. Everything else is quite intense and doesn't really allow you to create anything soft, but the color story is fab. Next up is the Platinum palette, and I would say this is pretty unique. This is very, I don't know, it's kind of like dystopian, futuristic, grungy. I like it. Now, there are only two mattes in this palette again, and I think the shades make this a very smoky, dark eye palette. You would need to take something else to lighten this up if you wanted to do that. So down the bottom you've got Aristocracy, and then Tenebra up the top, which is quite a dark shade. They're both quite dark, to be fair. Yeah, I just don't feel like you really have any there's no softness, subtleness, or lightness in this palette with those matte shades. So if you wanted to use one of those shades to create a look, it is going to look quite dark. And I feel like for me, even more so, you know, this, you might be like, that one's not too dark. If you have small eyes, if you have deep set eyes, a shade like this is going to make them look smaller, look darker, all that jazz. So for me, it is a very, very dark palette. Then we have these beautiful, like, I don't know, they're almost like pressed micro glitters, but I don't know, like, they're not really glittery, they're just full-on friggin' metallic eyeshadows. You've got Gem System, which is this darker one here, which is sort of like a pewter shade, and then you've got Luxuriance, which is Dead Set Gorgeous Silver. And oh my god, it's amazing. It's just amazing. It literally looks like metal. I adore it. It's stunning. It is, like, the palette is worth it just for that shade. Then you have two more, like, traditional sort of shimmery shades. You've got Rich Darling, which is this dark shade here, this one. Well, here we'll swatch your swatch. So that's your sort of, you know, run-of-the-mill sort of over the eyelid shade. And then you've got Priceless, which is kind of like an old gold, like, you know, dirty goldish shade, which again, I think it's really pretty. I actually think this is a very cohesive palette if you like these sort of metallic, metal inspired looks. I think it's really beautiful and it works that way. I would really have loved to have seen a slightly lighter shade for those of us who need it because our eyes are small and beady without it, basically. But I mean, I'll probably never get rid of this palette simply because it has that silver shade in there, and it's probably the best. I don't even think it's probably, I think it most definitely is the best silver eyeshadow that I own, hands down. And the last one I have here is Metropolitan. So this little guy is, it's a mishmash. Yeah, I actually feel like this is a bit of a mishmash of the three that we've just seen come before it. Again, you've got two mattes in here. You can see that I have tried to mix these two to make them something else. And I can't say that it really worked out all that well. We've got Lord and Nothing Personal. And again, I just feel like, I mean, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to compare them. I don't think they're exactly the same. This one appears to have maybe a bit more like of a mulberry hint to it, like a bit more purpley red. And I mean, I don't know, I can barely tell the difference. This one might have a bit more of an orangey undertone to it. I don't know, whatever, moving on. They're very similar. Next up, let's do the Alaska. So Alaska is, it's kind of like a chunky monkey sort of sparkly shade. I feel like we've all seen these in palettes, and it's become a bit of a dated formula, dated shade, basically. Does work well as like an inner corner highlight because it, you know, offers quite a bit of light reflect, but otherwise it doesn't bring too much to the table other than kind of like a frosty finish to the skin. Next we have the gold shade, and I remember when I first played with these palettes, I was like, oh my god, do I just literally have like the most perfect silver, like metallic silver eyeshadow, and potentially now a gold one. But the gold is different. It's not the same formula, and I don't feel like it doesn't have that same light reflect as the silver shade does, because the silver shade is kind of like it's like a micro glitter that's, I don't know, I don't even know if it's a micro glitter. I don't know what sort of formula it is, but it is different to these more creamy shades. That one's a bit more drier, lays down extremely flat and has heaps of light reflect. This one also lays down flat, but just not as much, so it doesn't reflect as much light. It's okay, I mean, but it's not, it's pretty, but it's not, you know, life-changing, shall we say. Then we have Dissolution. This one is like a really beautiful taupey shade with like a silvery reflect in it. I think it's absolutely gorgeous, and to be honest, it's my favorite shade in the palette. Then we have Love Resin, and I'm not really too keen on this one. It is again, it's like one of those latexy formulas, so it's kind of like powder to cream. It's a little bit stiff. It's just not I just don't really, I'm not super keen on the color. I'm not super keen on the finish. It's definitely not matte. It's sort of like a satiny shade or satin finish. It does have a tiny bit of sparkle in it, and I just find that it's kind of like difficult to blend, to be honest. I mean, it's just, yeah, not my fave. I honestly, this shade is just so beautiful. Dissolution. It's stunning. The rest, honestly, I could leave it, especially considering, you know, the similar shades as other palettes. Okay, I'm gonna wipe those swatches off so I can't look at that beautiful shade, and I'm just gonna put that palette in the declutter drawer because I don't feel like I need to keep it. I definitely feel like it's like the weakest of the three palettes that I own, and I don't feel like it brings a whole lot to the table, unfortunately. So that's it for my Nabla Cutie palettes. I wasn't actually planning on getting rid of any of them. I was just going to keep them because they're quite compact and, you know, I enjoy them. But after swatching this one and just being like, look, literally the only shade that I ever want to reach for is this shade. And these two up here I've already got, so on the very off chance that I do want these like vibrant, bright corally shades or a dark matte, come on man, it's like dime a dozen in my large collection, so it's not like I need to keep it. I don't want to keep something for one shade or like half a palette or something like that, and I'm not gonna bother depotting it. I don't need to do that, because the next thing that I'm working on, that I started working on today, is actually my single eyeshadows that are in like magnetic palettes. So I have quite a few of them, and they all contain, you know, like some shades from one brand, some from another, but my plan is basically to just go through them all and try and keep what I truly love. I would love to just have one of my like standard size palettes. It's like a Z palette, or, you know, the standard size with just like the single magnetic pan eyeshadows that are really special to me. So that's what I'm going to be working on next. I don't know how long it's going to take me, but I think what I might do is come back in a month anyway and update you guys on what I am keeping and what I'm not keeping, and then I can just sort of, you know, whittle it down and get through those single shadows. I don't have heaps and heaps, but with the rate that I wear colorful makeup, considering some of them, majority of them are like colorful, it's gonna take me some time to get through them. So it is what it is, but I will be back in a month with another update on those. I'm gonna leave it there, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.